Hello everybody, welcome to a video preview from MinnMax. MinnMax is a place about games, friends, getting better. My name is Ben Hansen, and I'm joined by Janet Garcia, the woman of the hour.
Hello.
Welcome. Janet, thanks for being here. You're the woman of the hour because you got to play a new game.
Yes.
This feels like it's kind of the kickoff to Summer Game Fest stuff. It's like, oh, hey, first like preview, and it was in LA and you got to go. Does it feel kind of like that, just like for your calendar wise? Okay.
Not necessarily. I think just because I went to see this on, God, what day was that? Like May 16th or 18th or something?
Oh, really? A while ago. Okay.
It's been like a while ago. If you follow me on social, or other people that went to the event, you know that we went to an event because that was allowed to be stated. We were allowed to say that it was the Expanse, that it was Telltale, but we couldn't say like what we thought of what we saw. We could be like, here's what I thought of looking at a helmet, but you can't say like what you thought of any helmets you saw in the game. So this is the final payoff, you know? I hate to be the tease person on social media, but I'm like, I saw it, find out more at one point, but this is that point, so it's very exciting.
We're here, we're living in this point right now. Thank you for being here, by the way. If you're watching this, you can always subscribe to MinnMax's YouTube channel, or if you want to help support independent games media directly, you can go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. We have that URL at the bottom of the screen all the time for a reason. And the point is, if you go there also you can unlock the bonus podcast feed, which is a place where we'll have the audio version of this discussion. So if you want the podcastable version of what we're talking about here, and then all of the deepest dives, our huge game clubs, all of our interviews, early access to the MinnMax show, ad-free, all the fun stuff, you can help support us directly and unlock that bonus thing right there, patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Janet, I'm curious about this whole thing. You got to play the Expanse, a Telltale series. Curious about it for a couple reasons. Telltale, I feel like I've had a long journey with Telltale. They were gone. Now they are back, or at least the name is back. And it's confusing because some of the leads of the old Telltale studio split off when the whole thing crumbled, and then they just released that Star Trek game, Star Trek Resurgence, I think it's called. That's very much also in that Telltale model, also covering a sci-fi series, but that is out now. This is not that. This is the rebooted version of Telltale, and they're doing a game that is presumably in that Telltale model, and this is covering the Expanse. Now, Janet, let me keep rambling because you know more than I do, but the thing that's extra confusing about this is it's the Telltale name, but the actual developer is Deck 9, who made...
Well, it's co-developed.
Co-developed, that's the best way to put it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are both working on the game. Like, it is a co-developed game between Telltale and Deck 9.
Okay, and Deck 9, you love them because of Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, True Colors. Yeah.
Last thing they made,
True Colors specifically. Yeah. Again, the narrative... This is where you're like, how long are we going to talk about this? I'm like, well, it depends, because there's so many layers here.
It's confusing.
Like, we haven't even gotten to what the game is or anything yet, but the narrative history in development is a complicated one, because Life is Strange is also a series where it's like been passed around a bit, and then it's like, oh, well, the people that did it at first, they do other things, and it's kind of like Life is Strange, but it's not Life is Strange, and then someone else took Life is Strange, and then they like made the best Life is Strange game, which, yeah. So I like Deck 9 a lot. Really love True Colors. I was like in my top 3, I think, the year that it came out. It's like one of the best story games I've ever played, and I've played a lot of them. And Telltale, again, like, I don't even have much of a history with OG Telltale.
Oh, really?
It's rebooted anyway. It's really Telltale in, I don't want to say a name only, because I don't want to be dismissive to the vision they have for the idea of strong narrative. Like, talking to the team, like, I did ask a little bit about, like, hey, like, is it kind of awkward, like, having that legacy? And they're like, well, not really at the end of the day, because we're still about what people come to Telltale games for, which is those narrative games, the decisions, the, intermixed of gameplay and action. So at the end of the day, it's still the same kind of general ethos. But yes, it is very much the ship of Theseus, the studio.
Yes. And because when it was revived, like, hey, it's coming back, the confusing thing is like, oh, one of the names involved with it, I'm trying to remember the name, but she was the original editor-in-chief of Game Informer in 1991. Like, it's like some old school talent that was like helping to revive this. It's always back to Game Informer,
isn't it, for you?
I'm sorry. Everything's through that lens. I'm a broken individual. Okay, so you want to walk me through this event? What was it like? What you got to play? All that fun stuff?
Yeah, well, to kick it off too, I think we have to acknowledge that The Expanse is a TV show. I mean, it's a lot of things. It's had like a storied history. If you could pull up what it streams on, because I don't want to butcher that, but I think it's Amazon.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the show. This game is a prequel to the show, so you definitely do not need to watch the show to play it. Me having played it, I did not feel like I was just thrown into a giant lore mess and was confused by it. I also didn't feel like they had to onboard very much. At its core, this is, kind of a space pirate kind of game. Pirate adventure in space is sort of how they pitch it.
Okay. I've had a lot of people in the MinnMax community and the Discord and stuff have been screaming at me like, oh, you would love The Expanse. You have to check out The Expanse. I don't have Amazon Prime. I've never watched it. But kind of the hook of that show, as far as I understand, is like it's cool, hard sci-fi if you're a nerd for sci-fi. So that's interesting that you're like, oh, it's space pirates. It's understandable. But does it feel kind of more grounded or realistic?
I mean, yes and no. I don't feel like I need, a degree in science to understand it. I spoke to a couple people after playing. One of the duos I talked to was Martha Murray, the lead animator, and Dan Brewster, the head producer. And one thing that they mentioned was really wanting to be true to the science in this game, because that is how The Expanse is. Again, I have not watched The Expanse, so I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this is like a 1-for-1 or anything.
Nailed it.
I know a lot of people that like it. I saw Mike at the event, and he really loves The Expanse.
Slow down, so whoa. This is Snowbike Mike from Kinda Funny.
Snowbike Michael from Kinda Funny.
And he sounds like, take it away, Janet. You have a great impersonation.
I'll tell you, I got to play The Expanse, and it was interesting. It was an interesting time. I was there. Janet Garcia, you know her, you love her, Kinda Funny. P.S. I love you, XOXO. She was there, hung out with her for a bit. Mm-hmm. We mingled, we mixed it up, and I got to play some of The Expanse. So that's Mike, good. If he was here talking about The Expanse. That's
good. If I had to coach you, I'd say 20% faster, 20% more gravel. And then you'd nail Mike. That's it. That's the secret, I think.
It's a work in progress.
You'll get it eventually. Eventually it'll be uncanny. You won't be able to distinguish you two. Every time I know I've talked to you about it before. I'm obsessed with this. And every time I see Mike in person, I tell him I'm obsessed with it too. But like his voice is just like, it's like part carnival barker. I don't know. There's some tone there where he feels like a sincere guy, but it's always just like, what? This isn't a shtick. This voice is not a shtick. It's mind-boggling to me. Anyways, okay, so he was there talking his normal Mike way. He's blasting out there, going to sci-fi. Oh, we got space and shooters. Okay, right on. Okay. And then that was it.
Yeah, that was it. I guess we can do this into. Do we want to start with the event itself and then get into gameplay? Like, I don't want to.
Let's skim event then gameplay. Okay. Unless the event was so damn riveting.
Feel free to speed me up here, but I got a story for you.
Okay.
So, how do I preface this? I'm really an awkward person. We'll throw that out there.
Sure,
you may not know it because I come here and I talk all the time and whatever, hanging out. When it comes time to like be outside and doing the thing, it's like, okay, let me like try to be on. Let me try not to mess this up. So they had messaged just about the event, and I forget what time it was for. You have different sessions. I had the morning session. They wrote in the email, I'll make up the time because I don't remember offhand. If the morning session was 9:30, they were like, arrive no earlier than 9. Mm-hmm. And I was like, bet, okay, sure. Set it up to arrive at 9. Because here's the thing, if you're not early, you're gonna be late. Because it's like, LA, there's traffic. Like I'm taking like an Uber over there, like from my apartment. So I pull up, it's 9. I'm like looking around for the place. And I'm like, wait, where's this like place at? Like trying to look at the photo on Google Maps, and then I took all these screenshots, and then I saw a dude with a backpack that was like, oh, are you looking for like name of building? And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, The Expanse, because I'm guessing like there's no other person that'd be here at 9 in the morning, like with a backpack. I'm like, this is another game journalist or something. And they're like, oh, it's right there. And I'm like, cool. The door is like ajar. So if you watched Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies ever, and there's that scene where
just go back there. Just go right back there. Right back in the alley.
Exactly. The turn, like not just down that way.
Yeah.
It was giving that. I should have sent you that photo too to pull up, because I was like, I took a picture of it, sent it to my boyfriend. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna go down here. Let me cover my bases. The door is ajar, slightly open. There's like cords coming out of it, like wires. Okay. And I'm like, surely this like isn't the intended entrance, but like this is the door. Like this is the literal. Like they sent a picture of the building in the email, and is shot for shot a picture of that building. So I'm like, I'm gonna just walk in, try to figure it out. I walk in, then there's like a curtain. So I'm like, great, I can't knock because there's a curtain. So I just walk through the curtain, and then you see all like these computers like set up. Like if you've done gameplay at events, it's what you expect: a couple tables, a couple PCs, whatever. There's people in the back that are like working the event. I walk in. One of my pet peeves for myself is I hate when I like go right into the thing, but at the same time, the person says, oh, like, hi, how are you? And I feel like a jerk because I'm like, this is the thing that I need. And it's just like, I hate it.
So you're just melting down as a person trying to go to this event?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm like, hey, I'm here. Like, I'm, like here for the event. And they're like, oh, hey, what's up? And I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? It's just like, I hate that.
Are you talking to a person? What are you talking about?
So it's like when you go to order like at a coffee shop or something, and you'll be like, hey, can I get a black coffee? But as soon as you say like the, hey, you go into the order, they're saying, hey, how are you? At the same time. And it's like you cut off their, hey, how are you? So it's like, I guess you got to open everything with, hey, how's it going? How are you? Anyway, so they're like, oh, this is the back of the event. We're going to walk you out to go through like the intended entrance. Because they
set it up. There's this whole sci-fi spectacle they want you to go through.
Exactly. And they're also like, oh, also you're early. And I'm thinking in my head, hey, whoa, and I am early. And I know the event's not time yet, but you said no earlier than 9. If you wanted me here at 9:25, I would have been here at 9:25. Like, I don't know what to do here. And then it was funny because as they were walking me out,
for audio listeners, Janet's mic just tried to run away. But okay, yes, go on.
Someone's like, tells the other person working there, like, oh, we got to close that door. And I'm like, yep.
Smart. Yep.
And the reason this is funny, too, for me is like this always happens. Like my first day at IGN, like I didn't have like a badge yet or anything. And my boss wasn't going to be there for like another 30 minutes or an hour. So I just walked into the office like without any identification, just with someone else in the elevator. So.
And you were tackled by security.
No, I got to my desk. Like I got there the whole way. And then I'm like, you can kind of just walk into places. This is the thing. But here, I was invited to all of these places. Like but it feels like I'm breaking and entering. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, they walk me around the side, and then they're like, okay, cool. Like, just they're like, make yourself comfortable. But it's literally just a sidewalk. So I'm like, all right, like, it's fine. I stood there. Funnily enough, I actually talked to Stephen Frost, who's the game director, while I was waiting because we were just all like, it was like me and like. Yeah, it was like me and like whoever else was there early and the people working the event, and we were just like chit-chatting about, what else you talk about, right? Tears of the Kingdom. He was playing on the plane on his way to the event. So yeah, we do all that. Then it's time to go. They're like, oh, let's have the people that got here early go first. So it's like me and one other guy, and they're like, do you guys want to go in together? You want to go in separate? I'm like, together's fine. Like, what are we even going into? And then they like walk you through kind of, and if you saw my Instagram story, like I posted like some of these clips, they like walk you through like this sort of like dark tunnel, and there's like a lot of curtains. It's giving like really over the top, like homemade haunted house or like
escape room vibes
or dialed back Disney. Ooh, like that Disney queue when you're waiting in line and they got like an animatronic that's like, oh, like this is welcome. Prepare, travelers. And it's like, I'm just in line with my cousins, but
Sure.
It's that energy. One of the things too is like they had you like stand, and then it's like they had like those like things that turn, like it's like a turning panel or something.
Yeah.
Like, so we like stood on that, and then it was a lot of like, and they're like, okay, go this way. And I was like, which way did they say to go? And I like pulled the curtain, it's the kitchen. I'm like, that's the wrong one. Eventually you get out of this little like light maze, and then they are like, oh, like, welcome. You want to put on a spacesuit? And I'm like, sure,
That sounds great.
So then we put on some jumpsuits. Some people can't put on the jumpsuits because, they didn't have like a size big enough for them if you were like too tall or whatever. Not a problem for me because I'm 5 feet tall. So I did have a dress on though. So I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work, but like I made it work.
Few astronauts have had to deal with that, trying to put a spacesuit on over a dress. That's a challenge.
That's the thing. It was a maxi dress, so it was fine. And then we waited in like what I would describe as a staging area. It sort of had just props from the show and a projector that showed the teaser trailer that dropped that same morning. And then they're like, okay, hang out here for like 30 minutes, and then we're going to take you to play the game. Which is chill, look around, like check out what's going on. That's when I ran into Mike, where towards the end of that, Mike sees me and he like throws his arms up, yells at Janet Garcia, what's up? And I'm like, Mike, and I go from like dead silent to just immediately alive because that's just someone I know. And I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Like, I'm like, oh, letting anyone in here, just like joshing and stuff.
Good jabs. Yeah, you gotta do it.
Yeah, And he's like, how's it going? Have you talked to anyone? I was like, absolutely not. Because it's so tough to like mingle at those kind of events, and it's like I don't know anyone here, and I'm just like on my own, and like
Janet,
I don't know.
That's when it's time to mingle. Everyone else is lonely and scared too.
Do you mingle in those events, Hanson?
Yeah. That's kind of the point, I think. And like, here's my mission. This is not that it's a crusade that I've been on for a long time, but I think I was at the Mario and Rabbids, like for that preview event in San Francisco. I was like, I'm just going to scan and look for the person who looks the most miserable and the most on their phone and just zoom over to them and sit down next to them and start talking to them. Because most people are nice, but it's easy, I think, for a group of tech savvy folks just like, I'll just stay here silently and look at my phone. And that drives me insane. Like, it's a side benefit that we get to do a little bit of social networking here. We should not ignore it just to check Twitter. It sounds miserable just to like. So yes, Janet, I think mingling is important for those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, you can. it's there. Like and it's not
people,
like
people
I'm
are,
always down for people to come up and talk to me.
Okay, well, you can talk to other people. Everyone's uncomfortable there. Everyone would love an icebreaker, I feel like.
I don't know. I'm like, it's fine.
I feel
like there's times.
What are you talking about? There's other people who have something so close to your job. Why not talk to them?
I don't know. And it's weird because I don't mind people talking to me. Like,
then
Mike's like,
and they probably don't either.
And I'm like, sure, we can, because like I have Mike there as like he's there with me. Like I need like a buffer, Like I don't know.
Okay.
I think like a lot of people, it can be tough doing that. I also feel like I'm not as inclined to do that at events just because I don't know. I think I'm kind of like locked into the event because I've gone to I went to a meetup like 2 days later and I talked to people there because that's like what I was there to do. It's like, okay, I know the one person that set it up and I'm like, yeah, let me talk to people, like hang out. I don't know. I'm a little bit less inclined to do that because I didn't feel like I had more to say other than like, hi, like, I don't know, do you know the Expanse? Like, I just didn't feel like doing it. Do you know the Expanse? I just didn't feel, I don't know it. Like, there was like, it's probably like half and half, I would say, of fans and not. But I don't know. I just didn't, I wasn't ready to shine in that moment.
You don't gotta shine. You just gotta break it's like a layer of ice. Maybe in LA you don't have this, but just thin layer of ice over a little puddle out there, Just barely ice that everyone just needs to get over and shatter. But hey, save that for Summer Games Fest. You're going to be the belle of the ball.
Summer Games Fest, I feel like I'd be more inclined just because it's like, I probably know more people there inherently too.
Sure.
Like I really didn't know anyone other than Mike at this event. It was it was an influencer heavy event. So it's a lot of people that do content like way different than mine. So it's just like, I don't know. Like I just didn't, I'm not one to, it's not unusual for me to just stand there and just chill. Like if I see an opening, like I'll, and then I think that's why people don't really perceive me as shy because I'm very comfortable when I get talking, but I'm not necessarily going to go and like do what you or Mike does where I'm walking up to people and being like, hi, let me introduce myself. Like, I'm just like, all right, I'm just hanging out. I'm here. I'm waiting to get to the next part. Then they take us into another room and that one has like computers and stuff set up. Immediately you hear murmurings of, because it was all PC setups, as usual for events like this. And everyone's like, oh my God, do they not have controllers? Is it only keyboard? And it was just so funny to me because I find that very relatable as a controller user. But I was also like, it's a story thing. Like, it's not going to be that input intensive.
Yeah.
But like, the pressure is real, right? Especially when you're doing capture. You don't want like all your stuff to look ugly. And they didn't have controllers, by the way. They were like, if you brought your own controller, you can plug it in. And Mike's like, did you bring your own controller? I'm like, absolutely not.
That would be such a weird move.
I guess maybe you can't, like, if you really want to be prepared, I'd say have one with you, but the amount of times you're going to need to use that is so sparse that it's like,
it seems odd.
like what, exactly. And the room was super humid because they put like this fog, like the spacey fog, and it was hot in there. It was hot. And Mike's like, wait, they had like another room set up other than that, like the one that I came into by accident. They're like, you can be here, you can be there. There's setups everywhere. And Mike's like, let's go to that room that's not 1,000,000 degrees. And I was like, absolutely. So like, again, rolling with Mike, it was super fun. Sat down, got set up. We played for, I think it was like 1 or 2 hours.
Wow, okay. First episode.
I think it was the entirety of the first episode. I forgot to double check it because it did feel like me. So the cool thing about hanging out with Mike for it was we both decided to like use each other to like see different decision outcomes a little bit, just because like we were both seated next to each other. You know, the benefits of like having that, you know, crossover between Patreon companies and like I do stuff here, I do stuff there. Like it just works out. I also think in general, like people are pretty down to, at least in my experience, like people in the industry, whether you work together or not, are pretty down to like help each other get coverage and content. Like I don't really see much, you know, like there's always that discussion of is there competition or not? And like there is, but there isn't. Like there is in the theoretical sense, but like I've never met anyone that behaved as if they were competing with other outlets. That person sounds like a jerk, you know?
If Kind of Funny's preview for this game, The Expanse, does better than ours on YouTube, I'm going to jump out a window, Janet. I am going to be outraged. So
it wouldn't be the first time, you know?
That's right. That's right.
Get that parachute ready.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to go.
But yeah, so we did that. So I guess now we can dig into the actual gameplay of it all. Again, it's very set up Telltale style, or any narrative game really at this point. I mean, you could argue Telltale made the bluept for it, but as someone that didn't play Telltale games, I'm like, yeah, this is just a narrative game. You know,
you got it.
You're walking around, you're getting the dialogue options, you're picking up items and getting like extra dialogue stuff, and you're doing whatever, you know, the driving action is here. So if you're not familiar with The Expanse, because I wasn't, the main character is Kamina Drummer. She's played, like, mocapped and voice acted by Kara G, who also plays her in the show, which is really cool. She mentioned that she felt cool to take this role because it was so true to the character, and she felt like the writing was on par to the game, or to the show rather. So
sure.
You have that as your main character. She's a belter, which basically just means that she, you know, does scavenging in space.
Belter?
Essentially. Yeah, a belter.
Okay, that's good.
Like the space belt or something. I don't know. I'm not a spaceologist.
I assume it's an asteroid belt thing. But that's good. Yeah. That's good. All right, I like belter. That's good. Okay.
So the thing that kind of ties back to, you asked about like the science aspect of it, is one of the big mechanical shticks here is that you have like zero gravity movement at times.
Okay.
So think like Dead Space, but it's not awful.
So like I'm imagining flying around in Dead Space 1 just to then talk to somebody who's floating out there, and then you have a dialogue tree. That seems like a really weird game.
No, it's not like that at all. It's especially, oh my God, Dead Space 1 and the remake, I thought that movement was really, really rough. This feels really comfortable. Like it moves really smoothly. There's this great feature where you can kind of see ahead of time where you'll snap land to. So you're sort of just using it to navigate the parts of a ship, right? You're like moving upward to get to a different like cavern or get to a different area. It makes navigating really simple in terms of looking at your map where you need to be and where you can be, because you can move in all these different directions. And I also like it for the potential of additional exploration. Like I think it adds a cool verticality to what combing over a space looks like. You saw that a little bit in this first episode that I got to play, where you're looking for, I think, a certain like level of shipmate or whatever, like a captain or whatever, like the rank is. And it's like, okay, you got to find this person. They have a key card on them or something.
Sure.
And that person is, of course, like floating a little bit overhead to kind of teach you that, hey, you're going to want to like look at the upper areas of some of these rooms as well to maybe to make new discoveries.
Big question, Janet.
Sure.
Honestly, if I may be honest with you, I think like the announcement of this and Star Trek Resurgence, I was kind of like, okay, 2 games kind of carrying on the Telltale legacy. I don't know. But I did like Life is Strange True Colors, and I just looked at gameplay for this and I was like, oh, looks a little bit better than I was expecting. Did you like it? Did this seem like, as a fan of Life is Strange, are you like, ooh, high on my radar, or in the realm of, I'll check it out?
I'll check it out. It's more of an I'll check it out than high on my radar. It's so tough with games like this because you really don't, maybe like a lot of video games, right? The most thorough conversation you can have is finishing the game, right? You can really see where it dipped, where it had its heights, where it maybe fell off. I've played a lot of games that I liked and then hated by the end, and I've played games that I wasn't hot on. Like True Colors, I wasn't hot on that first episode, frankly, which I know is kind of a hot take because a lot of people really liked it. But I've played so many of these games. I am a little bit picky when it comes to them. I'll still play all of them because I love the genre so much, but I don't want to say it takes a lot to wow me, but I feel like I have been colder on things that people have been warmer on, if that makes sense. You know, I think the Dark Pictures anthology is a good example of that.
Okay.
Like
Similar.
People are like, oh, those are solid. I'm like, it's okay at best. I keep playing them though because I'm sick. But you know.
Okay.
I think the number one thing that intrigued me about this, or I guess two things I want to nod to are one, the zero G movement feels really good. Honestly, really surprised that they pulled it off as well as they did, and I like what it might lend to for exploration. And two, I really like this feature they have where, you know, you're on the ship and as you encounter things, you can get the option to like call other crewmates to like tell them about it. And you don't have to take that option. So I like the idea of that potentially just adding a little bit more story. It's sort of having a way for you to be, you know, comedic drummer who's presumably like alone for good chunks of this game. Like I was alone in the game. Like I had my crewmates and we like set off to do our tasks though. So like I was exploring the ship alone, but it kind of added a bit of additional conversation, which is funny too, talking to Frost, the director, like, and I asked like, oh, what are some of your favorite narrative games? And of course, you know, he named I think the hits that people think of, Firewatch being one of them. And I'm like, oh yeah, it has that radio too. And I think there's something that adds a little bit of intimacy back into the aloneness of space that I think has a lot of potential. And then I do have my number one concern for this game as well, which I can get into. It's the classic. Like, are the decisions gonna hit?
Right.
And frankly, from this first episode, that is the thing that I'm most worried about. I would put a light spoiler warning for this. I'll try to be as vague as I can, but I do feel like this is like the core thing that stood out to me playing this, so I really want to talk about it. There is a decision you have to make where it's, well, one, I saw this decision coming from like a mile away. Like as we were approaching it, I'm like, we need to get some cargo. Like the whole thing is like, again, you're a scavenger, essentially. You're looking for like good stuff in space that you can like get and sell. You come across this like ship and it's been, you know, wrecked and the crew's been like torn apart and stuff. And you're like seeing, okay, well, what happened here? What is there good loot here still? And you're exploring. That's kind of what that first episode is about. And you get to a point where it's like, you can get these supplies or you can like help out your crewmate. Like you can't do both. It's like, you know, he's stuck. Are you going to help him but lose the cargo? Or are you going to, you know, do the inverse? And I picked one and Mike picked the other. So I helped him and then Mike helped the cargo. Later in that episode, there's a moment of drama, of argument where Kara's, you know, the main character, drummer, is beefing with somebody and is like, you know, they're yelling at each other. And it's like, okay, who's the crew gonna back in this argument? And the crew backs drummer, including the person who you screwed over, even if you screwed them over. And the dialogue is almost like exactly the same. There's no different attitude. Not only that, but another thing that stood out to me as being super weird is in that decision, it's like, you're trying to like help, like his leg is stuck. So like I saved him, he was fine, you bandage him up. Mike didn't save him, he had to cut off his leg, so he doesn't have a leg. But in that scene, like, he already has like his fake leg in place. He got up and walked. It's like, and that's so odd to me. And it really, and I was talking to Mike about it. I'm like, right, that's weird, right? And I asked Frost about it too, because I found that very odd. I was like, what's going on with this? And essentially, let me like make sure I grab the exact quote, because I asked a couple things about like the decisions and how they play out. And he kind of talked to, you know, I'll just read what he said and then I'll kind of dig into like my analysis of the quote. So I asked about it, said my colleague picked the opposite. Either way, this person came to your defense. What went into this decision specifically, and how do you balance those moments where you might be expecting something to have an immediate repercussion and then it doesn't? And his response was there are decisions that affect all sorts of different plot points, and we have to pick and choose what we want to go with within that. We have constraints on the time that we have to make this game, and we have plot points that we want to hit that are strong at certain points. So there could be some that will pay off in future episodes. And like I was saying before, if you have a decision that you're making in episode 1, there's going to be a point with that character where you'll go, what did I do? So there's a certain amount of time, but a certain amount of budget that we can cover. We can do to cover, and we're trying to push that as much as we can within those confines, so that we can get to the ending, where the endings are basically like who lives and who dies. And anyone can live and anyone can die except for one character, I'm guessing. Drummer. But anyway,
that's cool.
Back to the quote. Yeah, that's the ending. Like, the endings are just based on who lives and who dies, because like they have to get to, and this is me talking now, they have to get to like a certain point of like where the show starts. So it's like, that's kind of what the game leads up to.
Okay.
So dissecting that answer a little bit, I mean, I think Frost is not like off base here. Obviously, every choice-based game is like that. And sometimes it's people's biggest complaint of like, I feel like the decisions don't matter enough. At the end of the day, like, I do agree with another comment that he makes is it's not so much about the decisions, you seeing that through line of, I did this and now this happened, but it's about you feeling the weight and tension of when you're making the decision, and whether or not you like get the payoff in the same way isn't as relevant. And that I do agree with him on. And my beef with this isn't necessarily that it didn't even have weight to it in the moment, because I don't know, maybe it does pay off later. I just found like the presentation and the setup of it it just didn't hit.
Sure.
And I felt the predictability of having that choice.
It's the big moment of the episode 1, like.
Yeah, and even the choice itself, like, I wasn't like really caught up in that. And again, it's early, and that's what's so tough about this. Like, I was talking to Mike about the preview, and he's like, what'd you think? And I said, I thought it was really safe, because it's nice enough looking, that the game looks nice enough, it runs nice enough, the writing's like solid, like I didn't have any beefs with it, that it's a very inoffensive snippet of the game, which is smart. Like, that's kind of what you want to show, right? I don't want to swing too high one way or the other, because I don't know how it's going to pan out. But these are kind of my feelings, thoughts, and concerns coming off of this preview.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's always interesting when developers are like, budgets are a thing. I'm really curious to see, like, this isn't exactly Amazon, I'd imagine, paying the bills here. It's Telltale, who's a rebooted startup in San Francisco, right? And so I am curious to see how this feels, and if you can feel like a production difference between this and something like Life is Strange True Colors. And if part of that just means, there's not going to be as wildly different divergent paths as maybe you would want. And I think that example of losing a leg, and it's like, I don't know, they just have a replacement leg. That feels like kind of classic Telltale in a lot of ways. Like, you get the idea. But there's going to be a couple things that are very impactful, obviously. Okay, so you're curious about it, but if honestly, Janet, are you going to play this when it comes out?
Can you say honestly one more time?
Honestly, though, are you going to play this when it comes out?
I want to say yes. My only hesitance is really scheduling.
Everyone wants to say yes. That's exactly it. In a perfect world, we'd all play every game. Come on.
That's not true. That's not true. In a perfect world, I would absolutely not play every game. There's a lot of games I would not play. Like, I don't care what's going on in the world. Unless my life changes, I'm not playing MLB The Show. It's a fantastic game. I'm not playing it. Like, you can give me all the time in the world.
That's your example.
You can put me in the freaking, what is it? What's it called? The hyperbolic time chamber?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I'm glad you're here, Ben.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Janet.
Exactly. Yeah, I set it up, and I gave you the alley-oop, and you did the dunk, right?
That's right.
Yeah, if you put me in there, I would not play that game. So I disagree with that. I would not play every game in the world if I had time.
Janet, are you going to play this game or not? Do you think?
Okay, yeah, I just want to, because it's like, it's like, in a perfect world, that's not true. And that's why I want to point that out. It's not just to be harping on it and be annoying. I am genuinely interested in this game.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what's going on with it. And again, it's because I'm a fan of the genre. I'm a stan of the genre, right? I think the only way I don't play it is if I'm really busy and people are everyone hates it. Everyone's like a 5. I think even at a 6, I might hit it up. It's not terribly long. That's another thing too. Oh my God. They are doing the slow-paced release for it, where they drop the first episode, and 2 weeks later, it's 5-episode series, and 2 weeks later, I think that's also a thing that I don't know if I'm following through on those episodes. If you're doing that, like, if I get review code and I can play it all ahead of time or something, because the game is done, by the way. I want to throw that out there. Like, I asked them about like, hey, what went into this decision if you can speak to it? And they're like, we just, again, classic, we wanted that water cooler conversation. But they did say the game is finished. It's not like we're making the episodes as we're going at all.
Yeah.
It is all completely done. That being said, I really do hope that, like, if there's review codes and stuff, I see myself playing this if I can play the whole thing, because that's usually how reviews for this goes. Like, that's how they did for We Are OFK, for instance, which is also a slow released episodic game. But We Are OFK is also a lot shorter than this. I think this is more around like that 5 to 8 hour mark.
Okay.
Total. So yeah, I'd like to play it. I think it's around a time where I could play it.
So
it's not too long.
July 27th is when episode 1's dropping. It's interesting strategies to try and have some of that water cooler effects. Every 2 weeks, new episode will drop. I mean,
does it work? Do they see? And I don't know. Maybe that would have been too intense. But I'm like, do you actually see that work? Because I feel like everyone I talk to hates that for games.
You kind of. I mean, it's definitely depleting value with each announcement of like, and episode 4 and episode 5. But then again, like, it's interesting to have a game like you kind of get 5 chances to get people's attention just to see if you can kind of break out of the orbit. And so maybe that's part of the reasoning for it, instead of just being like, and this game's out, hopefully pick it up. Like, it's kind of built-in DLC messaging a little bit, just to try and keep it in the conversation.
There's also DLC announced for the game already.
Oh, really? Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
How does that work? It's like an episode 6? What is it?
I don't know. I don't know. But like, I was double checking like the press releases and stuff before this. And like if you get, it was like the most boring part of any preview conversation. For $39.99, you can get the game. If you buy the deluxe edition for $44.99, it includes future DLC. And also pre-ordering it in general gives you 24-hour early access. But
right on.
Yeah.
Huh. I find myself rooting for Deck 9, so I'm rooting for the game.
Are you going to play this?
No.
Why? Did you know that already, or is it because of our conversation here?
Well, I'll probably be on paternity leave at that point. I will be. And so the idea of taking time away from my newborn child to play another. No. Honestly, I shouldn't be so negative. I mean, I have played a lot of Telltale games in my life, and I think I'm just at a point, like Life is Strange True Colors, I know it's confusing to draw that direct line, but clearly they're inspired by older Telltale stuff. But even that was like, I think I'm about done with this type of game, and now I just feel like the real Telltale's back. And even then, it's like, this really needs to wow me to get me to play more of those, because I have.
True Colors was so good. Did you?
It was good.
It's funny because I know it. Like, we've done content, but I don't remember like what you thought about it. Like, did you not like it?
No, I liked it. I don't. Maybe it was like in a 9 or 10 on my top 10 of the year.
Okay.
If it made the list, yeah, it's probably something like that. Like I played it and I enjoyed it. It was great, but I wasn't that bowled over by it, I don't think. Not to your level.
I was so moved by it.
I know.
It was so good. It was so good.
All right. Anything we missed from Expanse?
It's not scary so far.
Ooh, okay.
Space is scary, but it's not scary. I think it's because it's not that dark. Like, the areas are pretty well lit. So if you're worried about being afraid of space, I don't think you have to worry about that, even though you do see some like decapitated heads floating around from the crew. So there's gruesome stuff, but it's not like horror, in case that was of concern.
They're smiling to you as they float by.
Sure.
Okay, that sounds great. Sweet, Janet. Thank you for going to the preview event. I hope it was fun overall.
Yeah, I had a great time. It's always cool getting to see stuff early, getting to like, talk to the one person that I know or 2 people that I don't know. We did say hi to some people, by the way.
Okay, that's good.
But that's because Mike was like, hey, why don't we go around and say hello to some people? And then it was funny because he said hi to somebody and they're like, yeah, you met me at Minecraft Legends. We actually played together. And that's why you don't say hi to anybody, Ben.
Oh, yeah, that's why you don't.
That would never happen to me because I'm just standing alone.
That's why you say, hey, good to see you to everybody, regardless if you met them.
Yeah, I know. But I feel like the more we talk about that, the more people know that hack. And then they'll be like, catch on. You know what I mean? But
what do you think about this move, this Snowbike Mike move? This is really, it's going to be called Video Preview : Snowbike Mike for the YouTube version of this. But we were at an Xbox mixer type of thing at GDC, and he did like the classic like, Ben Hanson, how you doing, living legend, classic Snowbike Mike stuff, very sweet. And then he's like, hey, who in this room do you want to talk to the most? Who, like, out of anybody you want to go up and talk to, but you're not quite comfortable? Let's just do it. Let's go talk to him. Let's break the ice. I can introduce you. You can introduce each other. This would be great. And I was like, you know what? Arthur Geese, like, I listen to a lot of Rebel FM, the old podcast. And like,
okay.
I've talked to him, I think, a couple times, but we're definitely not on like a first name basis. But like, out of anybody, I've listened to him probably on a podcast the most. So I'd be interested in going and talk to him. And Mike's like, all right, well, let's go do it. Here we go. Arthur Geese, let's go. And then he goes up and just like starts talking to Arthur Geese. And they start talking about like, IGN and Kind of Funny and Xbox stuff and all that stuff. And I was just kind of like standing there next to him the whole time. It was maybe like 3-minute conversation. And the Snowbike Mike's like, all right, well, see ya. And like there was never any of Snowbike Mike be like, and this is Ben Hansen from MinnMax. Zero
brutal.
introduction happening there. Maybe it's just there's never a great opportunity. And he thought like, well, he's talking enough that he felt like the whole pitch of we're going to go introduce you to Arthur Geese fell apart. So that's my experience mingling with Snowbike Mike. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Not Mike, but the mingle aspect and the introduction aspect. It was.
Well, it's too bad you're not, going to be around. I'm
I
sure
know.
there'll be another chance for. It sounds like I'm saying that you're dying. Like Ben's in good health. Everybody.
Well, once I see the views for Kind of Funny's preview for this game, I might be.
Oh, they're lumping into games cast at the end of something. They won't get the thumbnail.
They're not getting no friggin' thumbnail. All right, Jenna Garcia, thank you. I look forward to all of your hot previews from Summer Game Fest. We're going to be doing a travelogue, doing all that stuff because it's game season, baby. So we're going to try and crank out some more of these, but largely it'll be on the MinnMax Show podcast. We're kind of taking the Kind of Funny model, so we're going to be talking about those on the MinnMax Show podcast, and then we'll be doing a travelogue showing off Summer Game Fest. But cool, Janet, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. If you thought, hey, this video wasn't bad, well, there's a whole lot more like it on MinnMax's YouTube channel. Please help us out by subscribing to our channel and checking out the MinnMax Show podcast, also available on your favorite podcast app, the best, most thorough discussion about games on the internet with the deepest dive, our monthly community trivia show with prizes called Trivia Tower, and a whole lot more. Thanks so much for your support, everybody. All you gotta do is click that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it.